Alrighty, what is going on, guys? My name is Skinny Bone Jones, bringing you guys my full breakdown and predictions for WWE Money in the Bank 2015 that will be coming to you guys live on the WWE Network from the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. Now, we know every year that Money in the Bank is one of the most important events of the year, as it essentially determines who could end up becoming the world champion over the next few months. It sets up to SummerSlam, which then sets up to Survivor Series, and we all know that that all goes into WrestleMania in April. So for this year's event, we have 7 matches, including the Kickoff Match. So without wasting any more time, we're going to go ahead and get started with that. So the first match is the Kickoff Match. That's R-Truth versus King Barrett. Despite the fact that R-Truth and Barrett competed for the Intercontinental Championship and the King of the Ring over the past few months, both have been left out of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Thankfully, though, they aren't going to be skipping out on the card entirely, as they will be wrestling each other on the pre-show. It's better than nothing, right? Overall, this match doesn't mean all that much. Nothing's on the line at the moment, so there's no real stakes. Either man could defeat the other, and it won't change a single thing going on in WWE right now. However, if WWE wanted to change that up, and to make this worth something, there is an easy option to give the winner a spot in the Money in the Bank match. After all, being King of the Ring should be a good enough justification for Barrett to be considered, and WWE teased R-Truth's participation in the match during Raw this week, now that he's over his fear of ladders. So even if this stipulation isn't added, the match should at least be a decent filler to warm up the card. We know King Barrett has competed against Neville at the last 2 special events. I think it was Payback and Elimination Chamber, and he's been on a bit of a losing streak as of late. So that's why I'm going to say that R-Truth is going to defeat King Barrett via pinfall. So going ahead into the next match that we're going to be talking about, it is the WWE Intercontinental Championship match with the newly crowned champion Ryback taking on the world's largest athlete, The Big Show. Now, Ryback hasn't had that much time to reset after winning the title at Elimination Chamber in the 6-man match, as he's immediately been tossed into a feud with one of the most intimidating superstars in WWE's history. Big Show has beaten just about everybody, done practically everything there is to do in the business, including winning the Intercontinental Championship, which I think the last time he won the IC title was in 2012 in his feud with Cody Rhodes, so he would be no stranger to having that belt around his waist once more. The fans of the big guy shouldn't worry, though. Ryback will retain the title at Money in the Bank. It's far too soon. It's been only 2 weeks as of tomorrow for Ryback to drop the title without looking like a complete joke. Sometimes people can bounce back from a loss such as that, but Ryback over the past few years has had far too many stop-start pushes to be able to withstand something like that. After his whole undefeated streak in 2012, Ryback continually lost every important match that he had on pay-per-view and on television for several months straight and wasn't able to get back on track until recently. WWE seems to want to correct that mistake with this title win, so he simply has to retain. With The Miz also somewhat involved in this feud, there's a possibility that he'll interfere and render the match a no contest, but that wouldn't be as honorable a victory for the babyface champion Ryback as just simply defeating The Big Show. A triple threat involving those 3 could very well be in the works for Battleground, the next pay-per-view. If that does happen, it makes more sense for Ryback to go into it as the champion than to play hot potato with the belt. We saw the whole hot potato thing going on just earlier this year and at the end of last. Ryback picked Big Show up for the Shell-Shocked, I think, on Raw, so there's no question that he can do it again on Sunday. Although I am a little bit disappointed that they kind of took away that whole spot. We've always seen the bigger guys, trying to lift up the Big Show. It's always culminated at the pay-per-views. The one thing that just popped into my head was John Cena picking up Big Show for the first time for the AA at No Way Out back in 2012. So although he might not win with the Shell Shock exactly it is tough to imagine that the world's largest athlete will leave with the title, as he has nothing to gain. But Ryback, on the other hand, has everything to lose. So that's why my final prediction is that Ryback defeats the Big Show via pinfall. So the next match we're going to be talking about, the fourth match, I believe, or maybe the third, it's the third match, the WWE Tag Team Championship match. It's the New Day versus the Prime Time Players. The New Day is easily one of the hottest acts in the company right now, considering the reaction this group regularly gets from the crowd, although it is in a negative connotation. In comparison, the Primetime Players just aren't hitting it off with the audience as much as they and probably WWE would like. Their promos fall flat. The backstage vignettes have ranged from mildly amusing to just flat out annoying. Still, someone needs to challenge the champions, so it makes sense for Darren Young and Titus O'Neil to be in that position after they were the runners-up, shockingly enough, at Elimination Chamber. Sadly for them, they will fall short of taking the titles yet again, as this is a match that is New Day's to lose. Nothing has been stated yet about whether or not Kofi Kingston will be ringside for this contest, seeing how he's set to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but it can be assumed that he will accompany Xavier Woods and Big E. Whenever all three members of the New Day are present, there's always a chance for interference, cheating, distracting the referee, and somehow pulling out a victory and retaining the titles. There's no reason why that shouldn't happen here once more. Titus O'Neil has been showing off his strength lately, but will be matched by Big E. Young has yet to really show his true potential in the ring, but the same can be said about Xavier Woods. It's a very even match in more ways than one, though Kingston's involvement can make all the difference. On top of this, there is always the fallback of the champion's advantage, where the New Day can retain the titles by disqualification or being counted out. Looking at the track record of the Primetime Players, it doesn't appear as though a pinfall or a submission is in the cards. So I'm not too sure how this match could possibly end, but I do know that the New Day is going to walk away with the Tag Team Championships. The next match, now it's the fourth match, it's for the WWE Divas Championship. It is, I think, the longest reigning Divas Champion in history, Nikki Bella taking on a former multiple-time Divas Champion in Paige. If there is one title that has the biggest chance to change hands at Money in the Bank, it is definitely the Divas Championship. Nikki Bella has held the belt for many months, longer than most title reigns last, meaning that WWE could be a little bit antsy for something new. Never question how much appeal the idea of a new champion has for a bored WWE creative team. Still, Paige as champion is not exactly the freshest concept. There's a good chance those responsible for booking this match are just as tired as many fans are of seeing the same handful of women competing for the title and see no reason to have a meaningless title change. Some new blood from NXT would be the best course of action here, but there have been absolutely no hints that someone will be called up to the main roster. As such, if you're expecting Charlotte, Bayley, Becky Lynch, or even the NXT Women's Champion Sasha Banks, or any of the other divas from developmental to make an impact at the pay-per-view, you may very well be disappointed. It almost goes without being said for every match, but it needs to be stressed here that the outcome of this fight depends solely on what WWE is planning to do for the future. If the Bella Twins are going to be the priority heading into SummerSlam, Nikki will retain. If someone like Charlotte comes up to the main roster, the scales tip more in Paige's favor to be the champion come August. This could go either way, but since things have been rather bland for the past few months, Nikki Bella's reign has started to bore me a little bit. A storm could be brewing for some change. So that's why I'm going with a bold prediction here and saying that Paige is going to defeat Nikki Bella to win the Divas Championship. Alright, so next up is a non-title match. I'm not sure if I think it's the only non-title match other than the Money in the Bank ladder match and the Kickoff Match on the card, and that is the rematch. John Cena, the United States Champion, versus the NXT Champion, Kevin Owens. One of the golden rules of professional wrestling is that a program has more legs to it if the competitors are evenly matched. If one side continually defeats the other, fans have no reason to watch. The same thing would just keep happening, and nobody would care after a while. As such, it's imperative that Kevin Owens loses to John Cena in this match, or at least defeats him via some sort of disqualification. First off, this opens up the possibility for a third match between the two at Battleground. Owens has one victory, Cena would have one to his name, and it would take the rubber match to settle the score and determine who is truly better. Also, there's a tricky booking problem WWE tends to run into time and time again when it comes to unstoppable monster characters such as Owens. If they're given too long of an undefeated streak, they lose all momentum when they have been bested. Look at Rusev. For the most recent example, as I mentioned, Rusev. For months, nobody could put him down no matter what they tried. Cena eventually came along at WrestleMania, beat him multiple times, Extreme Rules, and a few pay-per-views after that, and in result, the Bulgarian Brute has now been massively demoted. To avoid the same thing happening to Owens, he needs to lose sooner than later so it won't sting as much. If WWE plays its cards right, the current NXT champion can take a loss at Money in the Bank or a disqualification victory, defeat Cena at Battleground, and not lose any momentum. Neither title is on the line, again, so the belts don't get in the way of booking either man to win or lose. However, if Owens were to lose that Money in the Bank and then up the ante by challenging Cena for his US title at Battleground, that would be a great means to take the negative hit and turn it into a positive. Their match at Elimination Chamber was great. One that's being considered the match of the year. So as far as the quality of this match goes, it has potential to be the best of the night. Win, lose, or draw, both men are likely to be proud of what comes out of it, and I'm sure the fans will be as well. So that's why I've got two predictions here. It's either John Cena is going to defeat Kevin Owens via pinfall, or Kevin Owens is going to defeat John Cena via disqualification. I'd really like to see an apron powerbomb just like we saw to Sami Zayn. Alright, so the next match is the 2015 Money in the Bank ladder match. We have the superstar set, those being Neville, Sheamus, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, Kane, Dolph Ziggler, and Kofi Kingston. So when you look at this field, one person stands out among the rest, not just in promotional material, but in terms of logic. That man who will end up winning the match is Roman Reigns. Every person involved has some sort of reason to be there, but only one of them can win. So if you start to dissect each wrestler's value, the answer becomes clear. Neville and Kofi Kingston are involved in the match to provide various entertaining spots and do crazy things with the ladders, not to win. It's impressive for Neville to be fighting for such an honor so quickly in his main roster tenure, but his lack of experience is exactly what will hold him back from winning. In Kingston's case, he's a veteran of these matches, but having wrestled in a bunch of them doesn't mean he's more likely to win. Even people like Kane, Dolph Ziggler, Randy Orton, all of whom have won the briefcase and successfully cashed in their title shots, don't stand much of a chance. Kane's there to represent the authority, while Orton and Ziggler have many accolades to their names and will help put over the winner by being among the losers. Defeating former world champions to win the contract means much more than if Reigns were booked to fight people like Heath Slater, Zack Ryder, and even Los Matadores. The landscape of WWE right now doesn't have room for Sheamus to be the person to fight for the championship in the next few months. Seth Rollins is the dominant factor in the main event, and both he and the Celtic Warrior are heels who show no signs whatsoever that WWE would be interested in doing a rare heel versus heel match between the two. It's the obvious, simple answer to have Reigns win, cash in on Rollins at SummerSlam, particularly if Rollins has to fight Brock Lesnar. That would be a means for things to come full circle and have some closure based on what happened a few months ago at WrestleMania. Perhaps more importantly than the irony of the situation is the reality that it would give Reigns the title run that WWE was grooming him for earlier in the year. His push was stalled but he's been gaining the support of the fans ever since coming up short. And soon enough, it will be time to reap the benefits of waiting. Something will be there for everyone to ensure they all look strong in some fashion, but when the dust settles, we all know that Reigns will be standing tall. So that's why my prediction is that Roman Reigns is going to win the Money in the Bank contract. So the next and final match of the evening is the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. It is Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. Now, Seth Rollins is in as bad a position as he's ever been since gaining the title. Dean Ambrose stole his title, both somewhat legitimately and underhandedly. J&J Security no longer have his back. Kane is as frustrated with him as ever. Even Triple H and Stephanie seem to be turning a blind eye to him. Nobody is willing to help him out, and since he's made a career out of receiving assistance over the past few months, it appears as though his time as champion could run out on Sunday. That's exactly why Rollins is going to retain the title at Money in the Bank. The general rule of thumb is to predict the opposite of what WWE sets up. It's not a guaranteed success every time, but pays off more often than not. Fans got a taste of Ambrose as champion at Elimination Chamber, but that was just meant to whet their appetites more than allude to events that would be coming to fruition. Lest we forget, Ambrose was not even originally scheduled for the Payback title match that led to his current positioning to begin with. Without that, he wouldn't be here, so there clearly weren't plans in motion for Ambrose to be champion around SummerSlam. Of course, things can always change. WWE may have altered the previous ideas to make room for a title reign for Ambrose, but it's much more likely option that Rollins is just going to keep the title around his waist nonetheless. Now, it's very easy to set up a heel victory in ladder matches by just having someone interfere and prevent the babyface from climbing. Triple H would be the best candidate, as he appears to be the person who can tolerate Rollins the most. At Battleground, Rollins could end up facing Kane to settle their issues, or could be in a triple threat that involved Ambrose as well. There's even a chance that he could wrestle a fourth pay-per-view match in a row against the Lunatic Fringe, but WWE would be better off avoiding that sort of repetition. Now, having someone like Triple H influence the outcome of the match could set up a match between the Game and the future Mr. Money in the Bank, Roman Reigns. Alternatively, WWE can kill some time by having no title match and instead doing a tag team match with Rollins and Triple H facing Ambrose and Reigns. Now, there are plenty of different outcomes that can be either fantastic or underwhelming when building to SummerSlam, but it's hard to imagine that WWE has any scenarios in mind that involve Ambrose as the champion. Brock Lesnar is going to be making his return soon, and nothing has been set up to appear as though he would go for a fight against anybody but Rollins, as he should naturally want to win his WWE World title back. Ambrose as champion facing Lesnar makes no sense, so unless the roster is going to be shifting around quite a bit, the safe bet is on the title staying exactly where it is now. So my prediction is that Seth Rollins is going to retain his WWE World Heavyweight Championship, whether it be legitimately or through some sort of cheating, outside interference, or some bending of the rules. So with that being said, I want to know what you guys think is going to happen at Money in the Bank tomorrow night. Do you agree with these predictions, or are you hoping for something else to go down? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave a like, of course, if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And with that, I'm Skinny Bone Jones, signing out.